Hi, welcome to the new how-to videos. Today we're doing a video for officials, clubs and stadia about cleaning starting pistols. We do hear a lot of stories from officials complaining that their gun jams, perhaps in the middle of a competition. 9 times out of 10, this is because it has been jammed up by black powder residue. You would be surprised at how much black powder residue is left on the gun after just one athletics meeting. And so cleaning it after every meeting and regularly maintaining your gun is going to keep it much better condition for a really long time, and you shouldn't need to replace your gun at any time soon. Let's have a look at the equipment that we need to do the job. We've got the gun here. The one that we're using is a .38 Bruni Olympic, specifically designed to be a starter pistol. It is a brand new gun, it's clean, so we're just going to be showing you how to clean it, but this actual gun doesn't need cleaning. The principle is exactly the same. You then also need some gun oil. This one is by Parker Hale. Black powder cleaner, some lint-free cleaning cloth, a standard cloth for your own hands, and a jam jar of some kind or a pot, and a gun brush. Now let's have a look at what we need to do to actually clean the gun. If you had used this, you would be able to very clearly see black powder residue on the casing around here. If you pull this pin at the front, this whole unit flips out, and you would very easily see there would be black powder residue around the outside here, also building up within the holes for the cartridges and around the mechanisms inside the gun. So those are all of the places that you want to be particularly careful of. Black powder residue is quite easy to see. It also comes off easily on the fingers, so even on a black casing such as this you would be able to see it and also feel it, and so it's about getting all of that completely clean. We don't need to undo the gun any further than this, so there's no need to unscrew any of the points and dismantle the gun. We can just work with it in its open position like this. The next thing that we need to do is to get some Young's black powder cleaner. You mix 1 part black powder cleaner with 4 parts of clean water, which is what I have done here, and we're going to use this is basically a solvent which is specifically designed for guns to clean the black powder residue off, but also to protect the surface against corrosion, and then to further that we can use gun oil, but I'll come back to that in a moment, because the black powder cleaner is what is going to stop your gun from jamming and keep it working. The gun oil, if you use too much of it, will actually jam your gun up, so this needs to be used very sparingly, and I'll come back to that in a moment. We've also got some lint-free cloth here, so literally what you're going to do is dip your lint-free cloth in the black powder cleaner and then just work it around the body of the gun, cleaning off, working into all of the corners, cleaning off that residue. Now when it comes to trying to get into these small areas, there are 2 things that you can do. Firstly, if you roll your cloth up, so this is lint-free gun cloth, and when you buy it, it comes in these rolls with the marks on. These marks are specifically designed to give you exactly the right quantity of cloth to fit inside the sort of little nooks and crannies. So if you roll it up, it has a sort of strength to it, and you can then pass that relatively easily into each chamber and give it a little twist, and it'll come around. You may be able to see that this side has got the full circle, whereas on the front the circle is partially obscured by the mechanism, so you won't be able to get the cloth in as far from this direction. So just work it into the end of each chamber on the ends, and then you want to work your way systematically all the way around. You then need, so remembering to get some more of the black powder cleaner, working with it all the way around, you're working it into all the corners around the edges, and inside here you'll see that there's a tiny little pin here which is the firing mechanism, and you want to be working around that firing mechanism because that's the part those are the parts that will then get most clogged up. Equally, down in the bottom here is where the trigger comes through, and you're making sure that all of those moving parts are the parts that are going to be the ones that jam with the black powder residue. Now, if you've been using gun oil, if too much gun oil residue is left on the surface of the gun before use, then the black powder actually sticks to it and it makes it worse. So whilst this is really useful for when you're storing your gun, so for example if you're leaving it at the end of the athletic season in the autumn, perhaps not going to come back to it until the spring, early summer, then you want to be putting gun oil on your gun a little bit more liberally so that it protects it from corrosion whilst it's in storage. However, if you put gun oil on your gun prior to use or whilst it's sort of mid-season, then it will actually conversely gam up the gun and make it more likely to jam. So equally, when you're working your black powder cleaner in, you want to be looking at any areas where you've previously oiled the gun for storage over winter or over fallow periods, and you're trying to make sure that you work that gun oil, the old gun oil, out so that it's not sticking to the black powder and making it worse over time. So what you can also do is if you pull the safety mechanism back, you'll also see the back end of the pins in there. So very carefully keeping your hand away from the trigger, because whilst this isn't a live fire, if that snaps back on your fingers, you're still going to know about it. So we're cleaning inside the cavity of the safety trigger. Just a note on the usage of a gun, it's not ideal to fire the gun too frequently without a cartridge in. So whilst it's a blank firing mechanism, the mechanism is designed to be used with a cartridge in. So, but what you'll find on this model and on many models is that once you've pulled this safety back, you can't push it in by hand. So it's absolutely fine to then release the gun. I know that there's no cartridges in here, I've just cleaned it, so I can pull the trigger to bring this back in, but it's not recommended that you do that too frequently, purely once or twice whilst you're in the process of cleaning it as necessary. You can also work into these holes around here, so again, anything which is a moving part and may jam. The other thing that you can use is a gun brush. So once you've taken the worst off with your lint-free cloth, you can use a gun brush. These come in different diameters, so this one is a 0.38, they also come in a 0.22 depending on your item, and you can just get some more of the black powder cleaner, work it into the holes, and then use that gun brush to go in and scrape out any excess residue and oils. Okay, so once you've managed to get the last of the residue off your gun, you can give it a wipe down, maybe get a fresh piece of lint-free cloth and just rub generally over the entire item, making sure to get all of the last bits of residue off. Then what you can do, if you are storing your gun, so when you do the cleaning immediately after competition, you can take a tiny little bit of the gun oil. You pop literally just 1 or 2 drops onto your cloth and then work that into the mechanisms, making very careful care not to put excess on. If you do, then it's a good idea to cut an extra piece of lint cloth and just rub that off so that it's not sitting with excess oil on the surface. If you're leaving it over winter or for longer periods, then you can leave that excess on the surface. Obviously this is the clean gun. If you're actually doing this in real life, you're going to need to have this right at hand because you are now going to be covered with black powder cleaner with your hands. Hopefully that's given you a good idea of how to maintain your starter pistol. If you need any more information, do contact us at newf.co.uk, and we look forward to hearing your stories of successful competitions. Enjoy your sport.